Hey there, it's your boy, Ike Allred, with another episode of Create or Die. I'd like to thank you personally for tuning in to what's sure to be one of the best episodes we've ever had here on the program. Now you might be saying, what? The best episode ever? Do you have some kind of celebrity guest or something? Well, not exactly. But I think we've got something worth talking about. Little thing I like to call education. Continuing education. And why it's important. Specifically, what are 10 top reasons why it's important. Now, you might say, education, that's boring. Well, it is back to school time, and I'm not necessarily talking about sitting in a classroom. There are so many ways we can learn. And if you think about it, we're in this world, we're hustling and bustling, we're collecting things, but really, you can't take that stuff with you, right? But what you can take with you when you leave this life is what's up here. That's right, knowledge. So always be learning. Well, there you go. That's the episode. Not quite. If you want to hear more, you want to hear those top 10 steps or reasons, if you will, then keep it right here, my friends. Let's do this. So, like I said, episode is all about continuing education, why it's important, top 10 reasons, David Letterman style. Let's get old Paul Schaefer, give us a little drum roll or something. If you're younger than 35, you may not know that reference. But anyways, before we get into that, as an upstanding information outlet, that's what we are, a podcast, right? We're out there for the world. We have a little bit of responsibility, and sometimes I say things that may rub people the wrong way, or they may not be 100% true. And I'm a big man, and I'll admit when I'm wrong. Okay. So if you'll recall, several episodes ago, I complained about a toothache, and I took my frustrations out on the dental industry. Not just one particular dentist, but the entire industry. And I was reminded that my younger brother is pursuing a path in dentistry. Don't know why. He's got some creative skills. He could do that, but that's beside the point. But today, I went to the dentist for a root canal, and my tooth feels a million times better, and I'm grateful for the dentist office, their professionalism. They didn't know I was a dentist hater, and I felt guilty. I'm like, if you only knew, if you listened to the podcast, you may want to sabotage things up in that mouth right now. But I'm glad you didn't. And when I gave it some thought, I'm like, how important is it to me to not have a hurt tooth? Yeah, that's worth some bucks. And what they charged, at least out of pocket for me, I think is fair. So, apologize, Dennis. You're welcome to tune back in if you'll have me. There it is. See? I can be a big person. Okay, so we got that out of the way. You know, you can go ahead and stop sending me those hate emails and snail mail and what have you. So we're having fun, right? Always having fun. But to kind of round out this little segment I'm going to call Business Time with Ike, taking care of business. That's what we'll call it. It rolls off the tongue. It's nice and concise, and people will be talking about it at the water cooler, right? Well, we've got some business to take care of. You know, here we are coming up on our year mark. We've got big things in store. I can tell you that for sure. You know, watch out for a new website, awesome new merch. We've got some amazing guests that are just lining up, and they're stoked to be on the show, let me tell you. And we're even more stoked to have them. That's the truth. We've got like 3 scheduled and ready to go, and that's just the beginning. We're pumping in some bucks into the advertising. You know, we wrapped the truck, but really, and I stopped there, but there are other things we're doing, okay? Been reaching out to contractors for some help marketing, getting the word out, but none of that compares to what all y'all can do, which is tell your friends, tell your family, you know, remind yourself. Like, I don't know if you need to like put it on your to-do list on the daily, like, hey, check if there's a new episode. That's okay. Or even better, go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you get those notifications. Okay, because I know that even though we have a ton, like tens and tens of listeners, even more than that, on the audio only channels, you know, YouTube is, we're starting to give it some love. It's gonna start making it rain, okay? So you want to be a part of it. And as you can tell, I'm optimistic, and the power of intention, right? Because if you look at the YouTube channel right now, it's humble beginnings from a viewership and subscriber standpoint, but I guarantee you that come the new year, things are going to start rocking and rolling, and we're going to just snowball that action right up all y'all's. Yeah, I'll stop there. But some good things are happening, let's just say that. So, yeah, I need your help, okay? If I can ask for one thing, I'd say hit that subscribe button. If I could ask for 2 things, I'd say tell 10 of your friends, acquaintances, family members, colleagues that this show does something for you. Now, earlier on, you know, some people would listen to kind of the smooth vocals and the soft background tunes from some of my initial episodes, and they would throw that on right as they were going to sleep. And we were doing a service to help those people, you know, lull them to sleep. But as time got on, you know, here we are, episode 49, and things are starting to come together. We've got some good content up in here, so you actually want to listen. So we spiced up the background music. And by the way, we've got some new background music in the works from our main man. That's right, Mr. Tom Cattell. And I'm putting him on the spot here because I love to do it. But he's working those out, and he's gonna get them done when they're done right, and that's good. We don't want to rush them. We want them done right. But start of season 2 few weeks away, that would be a good timing, but no pressure. But I digress, and I have a tendency to ramble, okay? And then I have a tendency to apologize for rambling, not because I'm actually sorry, because I'm not, but because I think it adds a little levity, a little bit of humor to what we're putting down here. Because if you listen to the last couple episodes, I'll be honest, they were late. It was late at night. I was tired. Just trying to, force too much into a short time period. Stretch myself a little bit, and the quality suffered. And I'll be the first to admit that. Like I said from earlier, I'm a big person. I can do that. But anyways, here I go again, thinking I'm funny, like you're tuning in just because you want to hear me talk at the mic and say dumb stuff. Well, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Okay, I've got important stuff to cover. Okay, and so we're gonna do that right now. So join me. Here we are. Top 10, in no particular order, reasons why you need to continue with your education. And I'm talking specifically when it relates to your creative education. So I know a lot of the listeners to the program are creative in one respect or the other, and a lot of them are creative professionally. And so these 10 reasons for why ongoing education is important specifically applies to those who are doing this as their full-time gig. But I think you'll be able to see, how it relates to maybe someone who's starting to dip their toe or toes into the creative world. So number one, why would we want to continue our education? That's because we want to enhance our skills. Okay, we got certain skills. We might be a specialist or we might be a generalist. And even if you're a specialist, let's say you're just a web designer, well, that landscape is changing fast. We went from Sketch to Figma in like the blink of an eye. I couldn't even believe it. I thought, what is this Figma thing? It's, Sketch. I just barely moved over to Sketch from like Photoshop, and you're telling me we got to move to Figma? And then, of course, superior tool, and it took the world by storm. And so, evolving, being willing to adapt to the new technologies and techniques, the new programs, whatever, absolutely critical, especially in tech, any type of tech. So, skill enhancement, number one. Number two, you want to expand that creativity. And by learning new skills or subjects, you're going to significantly widen the scope of your creativity. If you are interested in branching out and becoming maybe a specialist plus or even a generalist, understanding multiple disciplines is going to allow you to think outside of the box, be creative that way, even within your primary domain. Okay, so web design, for example, if you dabble in 3D and you're like, how can this enhance what I'm doing on the web? That was a sound effect for something wicked awesome. You're going to take it to another level. Okay, so you're essentially making your work richer and more complex by incorporating, continuing that education. And I don't mean sign up for a class per se. There's so many ways to do that. You got your YouTubes, you got your podcasts that you're listening to. You've got, online courses where, maybe you pay $50 and you get, 100 hours of training or whatever, or you do something with a more reputable, bigger place like School of Motion for motion design, for animation mentor, for character animation, rigging, all that good stuff if you're looking to do that. And there are a million other boot camps or whatever for those in dev, because we love our developers. They're creatives as well. And if you don't believe that, then you don't know what you don't know. Okay. Number 3, adaptable. You gotta be adaptable, because like I alluded to with the tech landscape, I mean, things are changing quick, and so creatives need to adapt to new tools, platforms, audiences. You know, you may go to work for one software company to another, one tech company to another, and may not be in that same world. You know, the audience changes. So like currently I'm in the fintech, financial services world as my day job. You know, but prior to that, you know, even though it was consulting, I found myself doing a lot of work in the biotech world. Two very different worlds, different motivations, different audiences, you know, and that's not the point of this, to dive into my experience per se. It's the importance of adaptability. You know, continuing education offers you that flexibility to pivot when necessary. Like, for example, let's say you're a photographer and you want to move from still images to video, or you're a writer learning to adapt your content to digital platforms. So you gotta be able to adapt. So that's number 3. Yeah, count them. 1, 2, 3. Wow, you can count, Ike. Congratulations. Number 4, and this is one that kind of surprised me. And you might say, surprised you? I thought you put together this list yourself. Well, candidly, I did not. I leveraged the internet, and specifically ChatGPT 4 to help me pull this list together quickly, and you know, did some shifting and shuffling to essentially land on what I agreed on. This is one that, you know, I mean, it makes perfect sense, but I probably would have skipped it if I was just relying on my own self. So that's the value of knowledge. So number 4, networking. Okay, so educational settings in general, whether they're online classes, workshops, you know, you've enrolled in the local community college, whatever, these are places that can lead to collaborative opportunities with other creatives, mentorships, or career advancement, or even you know, screw collaboration and all that. It could lead to clients. You know, you go sign up for some online course, and maybe it's one of those where you actually get on Zoom with an instructor or something, and you're learning, you're showing you're responsive, you're getting your work done, you're cranking out amazing stuff, and then a lot of times that person in that position, they're probably a working professional who, you know, may work at a studio or a big agency or whatever. And one of the reasons they may have started teaching is because they're like, hey, I'll find more talent, people I can trust. And so they could be sending you jobs, okay? Whether they're part-time or full-time, who knows? The networking, number 4, yeah, write that one down, okay? Like, pause and write that one down. So number 4. Number 5, you build a portfolio. You know, the more educational settings you put yourself in to learn things and create things, as you're creating, you're building a portfolio. Now, word of caution here, especially for the traditional, you know, state college programs or whatever, there's kind of these standard projects that you'll do, and if your portfolio is just full of those, could get a little tired, and you know, hiring managers have likely seen those projects time and time again, and so just a little bit of caution there. But if you're not just following a tutorial and like saying, hey, look what I did, but rather using that to learn from and then applying it to your own thing, and you show that, that's what you want to show, and that's what is going to stand out. So yeah, number 5, help to build that portfolio. Okay, personal branding. Yeah, man, that's like the in thing these days. Is what is your personal brand? When someone thinks Ike, what do they think? You know, big old teddy bear that thinks he has enough knowledge to create a podcast and likes to do drawings? That's not the worst thing. What do they think about you? You know, personal branding is not necessarily what you think you are, but it's what others think you are or believe that you are. But yeah, essentially, the more skills and knowledge you accumulate, the more you can differentiate yourself in a crowded marketplace. And let me tell you, it is crowded right now. Like, not that I'm looking, but I see the job application, job postings pop up. And out of curiosity, I'll just look at it, one or something, and see, what, 700 freaking applications, and it's only been live for a few days? What? I mean, you go back a couple years ago, and it was like, okay, maybe you'd see 50 applications if it was like a big company that people really wanted to work at. And maybe, and a lot of that might have been because there were like next to zero remote opportunities. And nowadays, you're not just applying for jobs down the street or within a 50-mile radius. You're applying for jobs all over the country or world, and so is everyone else. So you're competing against the best people from Madison Avenue or LA or wherever the hotspots are, and you're in, Podunk, Pocatello, Idaho, or whatever. Apologies to those of you who live in Pocatello. It's been 20 plus years, maybe 30 since I've been there, so I'm sure you've come a long way. Personal branding, that's number 6. Number 7, this is another one of those that I wouldn't have thought of, but it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you go ahead and just soak this one in, because it's coming at you right now. Confidence. You get you some education, some ongoing education, and you get you some more confidence. I remember my first official design job. I'd been to some community college, time, and that's where I'm currently at. I, never got my official bachelor's degree or anything else. It was, did like 4 years of community college, jumping around, just learning the program, and that was good because thankfully, I felt like I was confident in certain areas. But anyways, first design job, I remember talking to a senior designer and talking about education and whether he thought it was necessary for people, designers to have a 4-year degree. And his answer surprised me. He basically said that for him, for his skill set, for his lack of confidence or whatever, he needed it. He needed that 4-year degree as basically like a confidence booster, and I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but it was basically like, no, you don't need it, but I personally needed it to be able to get through the door and hold my head up high enough or whatever. So confidence is something that you will gain. If you're going into a job and you feel like you're up to date with the current trends, that's going to boost your confidence, you know. Or you can, you know, because you've studied fonts and you know, learned about the correct design vocabulary or whatever, and you're able to use that intelligently in conversations, that's going to boost your confidence. So that's one of those things that surprised me that I didn't realize would be on the list, but it is. Number 7, confidence. Okay, moving on. We're just shooting from the hip here. You know, which makes it sound like we're unprepared, but we are prepared. Okay. So I guess I misspoke. So number 8, problem solving. What does ongoing education has to do with problem solving? Well, education isn't just about learning specific skills. You know, it's also about learning how to think. There's a book that I listened to and then bought the actual like Kindle version of it so I could read it, because it's like a reference book for me. But it was by the founder of that search tool, DuckDuckGo or whatever it's called. And I'm butchering this, but it's basically, I think the title was called Super Thinking. It was all about these different, what do they call them? Frameworks, like mental frameworks for how to think, you know. And I'm going to embarrass myself if I keep talking, but I have listened to it, and it did help me. Like increase your luck ratio or whatever. Or, you know, if you approach different problem solving, that's number 8, right? With different mental frameworks, then you're applying the correct mental framework, then you're more likely to succeed and get a good solution to your problem. We made it through that one, you know. And just as a disclaimer, okay, just because I'm talking in front of a microphone and you've chosen to listen to me or watch me, heaven forbid, just kidding, doesn't mean I know it all, and I don't profess to know it all. You know, there was a sad realization of a influencer here in Utah that was trying to say that they were the authority on parenting and they had it all figured out, and then just this past week, you know, it was found that they're keeping their kids like tied up and starving in their basement, and it's just absolutely sickening. And then this person is trying to say that they know it all, and that you should listen to them on this subject that they're supposedly experts on, and come to find out they're absolutely the opposite end of the spectrum. And I, you know, hope that that's not in any way true of me when it comes to creativity, and I don't think it is, you know. I'm an open book, you know, got no skeletons that I'm afraid to come out of my closet, you know. Let's bring them out, look at them, dissect them, whatever. But essentially what I'm trying to say is, you know, I'm just one dude talking to other dudes and dudettes, you know, basically saying, hey, this is my experience, maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. You got a better solution? Great, tell me about it. Love to hear it. Love to read it in the comments on YouTube, so make that happen, right? So yeah, just a little disclaimer there, like not trying to say I know it all. Number 9, market trends. Okay, understanding the market is vital for any profession. So now I speak of market as if it's this one thing, but guess what? It's different for what it is you're doing. Your market may be financial services like it is with my day job, or it may be the entertainment industry or whatever. So you got to understand that market, that audience, and educating yourself, again, doesn't just involve skills or trades, but it's the business side of things. So as a creative, how much more valuable would you be if you invested some time in learning how to be a better salesperson, learning about the marketing funnel and how your creative can impact those the progression of prospects through that funnel. If you're looking to be your own boss, be a freelancer, and you have some of that knowledge, that's going to help you a lot. Because when you go in and you're putting on that sales business development hat, and you go talk to Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. or whatever, them, client, you can say, hey, this is how it's going to help you. What I do is going to help you. Essentially, you give me $20, and I'll give you $50. Okay? Now, who's going to turn that down? That's some good stuff. I'll give you $20 all day if you give me $50. All right? As you can see, I'm a master of business and sales and all things business development. Right? So number 9, market trends. I can't believe it. We're 90% of the way through this list of 10 reasons why you, the person who thinks that they don't need this, I'm talking to you. I think you do need it, and you want it. Number 10, lifelong learning. Last but not least is the act of learning is in and of itself a creative act. It keeps your brain active and engaged, enhancing not just your professional life but also enriching your personal life. By engaging in ongoing education, creatives can ensure that they are not only keeping up, and I'm reading this now, with their industry, but also setting themselves up for a rewarding and sustainable career. Whew. That number 10 there, think about it. I think there's been studies and stuff about Alzheimer's and dementia, that if you're pushing yourself, you're trying to learn new things, you're avoiding kind of habits that don't stretch your mind. Like one thing I heard, it's not me, it's someone else, I'm not going to cite it because I don't remember, but essentially it's a good idea to park in a different location, like drastically different, every time you go to your local grocery store or something. Now obviously, eventually you're going to repeat it, but rather than being like, okay, this is my side of the grocery store, I go through these doors, I park in this row, and because it's easy to remember, that's the problem. You park in different places, so your mind has to kind of work a little bit to remember, like, wait a minute, did I park on the east side or the west side of the store? Even something that simple is going to help you out in the long run. And there it is, my friends. Top 10 reasons why you should be continuing your education in one form or another. Listen to them podcasts, get on YouTube, try something new. You're a designer? Well, look into programming a little bit. There's fun little gamified programming learning things on the iPad check that out. One that I really enjoyed was Swift Playground. I think it was created by Apple to help teach people how to use their Swift programming language. And I'm not going to be like making money anytime soon as a developer, but that helped kind of stretch my mind and help me realize like what goes into the development side of things, so that when I'm producing assets, whatever, it's just huge. Or if you're a 2D illustrator, you like to draw on paper or on the iPad and Procreate, whatever, stretch yourself and get into some 3D sculpting. Nomad on the iPad is a great little tool. ZBrush on the desktop if you want to get a little more crazy. And what I've found is that that's done wonders for my 2D illustration skills, because thinking in 3D, rotating those models around, you're building a library of knowledge of just how things look in all different angles, so that when you go and you sit down to draw something and you're drawing somebody from behind, from a 3/4 view, you can start to think like, well, how would their ear look? How much of the nose would I be seeing from that angle, because of your experience using 3D. So it's amazing. And one thing I'll say to kind of wrap up this list of 10 reasons why, is don't feel like you're ever too good or too advanced for some form of learning. I remember, again, back at my first legit design job, a holiday party was there or whatever, and as a company we went to the bookstore, Barnes & Noble or Borders, whatever it was at that time, and I remember my boss making the comment to me like, hey, are you excited to go check out the design books? Maybe you want to get a design book. Because everybody, as part of the holiday gift from the company, it's like, yeah, you can buy a book, or you've got this much of a budget or whatever. And I was quick to be like, no, what? Why? Why would I? I'm a professional designer. Why would I want a design book? Because I was afraid to kind of admit that maybe I didn't know everything I needed to know. And then a few years later, I remember, I've been drawing since I was 2 years old or whatever, with crayon, pencil, whatever, on paper. And over the years, I've had lots of people tell me, hey, that's a good drawing, And after a while, you start to believe it, and that's why I pursued a career in art, right? But got to the point where in high school, I was pretty good at reproducing something with a pencil. So tell me the human camera or whatever. I could look at a picture and draw it, and it was pretty good. Like one of the best in the school, if not the best, okay? So I told myself, yeah, I got this drawing thing figured out, so of course I don't need some book about how to draw, because I have perfected it, right? Because once you can reproduce something, then there's no such thing as more real. It's like you've either achieved realism or you haven't, right? Well, that was my thinking there. But like, Maslow's law or whatever, one of those frameworks, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So essentially, one of those days I finally decided, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and look at this book on drawing, and just to make sure they know what they're talking about. fairly quickly I started learning from this relatively remedial drawing book on how to draw. Like, whoa, there isn't just one way to skin a cat, essentially, which is kind of a horrible aphorism, so I apologize there. But no, like, that's just it, people have come up with different ways, faster ways, more accurate ways, and guess what? Drawing isn't just about reproducing reality. One of the hardest things to do is to draw simple things, like a logo that, perfectly encapsulates what it is that business does, or icons that, illustrate real complex things. Like in this fintech world, there's like some stuff that is not just your normal icons that you would see on a computer, like, oh, I've got a folder icon, a document icon, a computer icon, a trash icon, whatever. No, you need some kind of crazy icons about connectivity and open finance and some complex stuff. APIs, fintech in general, AI assisted, modulated automation, whatever. And I'm making some of that up. So be humble, be teachable when you're doing that continuing education. That's what I would say. And then finally, I'd like to touch on a little something else that I thought of as I was going through this list. Something that we've talked about on the program before. Is it better to be a generalist or a specialist? And as you know, in most cases, I usually would say it's better to be a generalist. But through some research and being intellectually honest, if you will, I can see some scenarios where sometimes it's better to be a specialist, and it depends on the industry, the market, the strategy of the business, or whatever. So for example, you're working for a software company and there are 10 people, 10 specialists and one generalist. So 9 specialists, 1 generalist. And this generalist can do pretty decently, maybe expert in a couple areas, but for the most part can do the other 9 people's jobs pretty well enough. And cutbacks come to town. Okay, it's time for layoffs because we're not selling our products, our software. In that scenario, it's better to be a specialist. It's better to be that specialist, that 1 or 2 specialists on the team, because in that scenario, in that type of business, that is the person or people that kind of business is going to want to retain. So if you're working in that type of a business and you are a one-trick pony, I don't mean that in a negative way, but you do one thing really well, I would encourage you to add to your skill set. Like we talked about in the list earlier, it's like it can be in areas that are similar to your specialist, so it's kind of like you're a specialist to a T. You grow to a certain level, and then you branch off into some neighboring areas that will make you adaptable and all those things that we talked about, but make you more valuable. So that's in that area. If you're talking, you're an engineer, for example, at that software company, and the prize piece of software is an iOS app, and you are the best iOS developer in the world, and you come up with creative solutions and you innovate and you're amazing, but that's all you do is create iOS apps, not even Android apps, someone else's problem. Well, you're in a good spot, because that is such a critical role that you're going to be just fine. So I don't know if that's the best illustration, but I just want to circle back on that from a previous episode, and felt like this was the right episode to do it. So tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where you feel like you can improve, because there's always someone better out there. So until next time, my friends, keep on creating. Create or die.